Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm back with Navya Mahajan today. So, Navya is a clinical psychologist. Navya, thank you very, very much for being here. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshit, for having me. We have been discovering over this meeting for a long time
Yeah.
and not being able to reach here due to so many constraints, but I'm happy that I can, be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm glad to. I'm glad to. So, Navya, before we get into any kind of discussion or anything, it would be wonderful and great if you could, let us know about your work and your achievements and all of that. Please.
Yeah. Okay. So I am a clinical psychologist by profession, and I've been in this field for over 5 years now. Um, and I'm working with a number of online platforms, including CultFit, Felicity, and trying to help some NGOs as well in mental health. So that's something about my bio, about my profession. And other than my profession, I am a dog lover and a very family oriented person. Love being with friends, family, and giving all my help to my friends whenever they need me.
Yeah, really great, wonderful, wonderful, Navya. So, why don't you introduce, the topic to us and give a brief intro about the topic and what we're going to discuss.
Yeah. So today's topic is about it's actually a very relevant topic, and we have observed a lot of this coming up in the pandemic. This topic is about abandonment fear in adults. And what is actually abandonment fear? I would like to take a little bit more time in explaining this fear.
Sure.
So, abandonment fear is actually not a diagnosis or a diagnostic criteria per se for anybody, but it's one of the fears which is observed over a lot of clinical diagnoses like depression or borderline personality. So abandonment fear is actually a survival response and not a pathology. When we are left out, especially in our primitive years, when a child is left out, for example, he or she doesn't have a mother to feed, or he doesn't have a primary caregiver to take care of the child, what will happen? He will die. He or she will no longer survive. So it's
Yeah.
basically a survival response. It becomes a pathology when to every situation we start responding from a place of fear.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it is basically the overwhelming worry that people close to me will leave. This is a fear that what if I'm all alone? What if
Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
left alone? What if I don't have anybody to love, or somebody is not around me who can take care of me? You know, if one has a fear of abandonment, it can be almost very difficult to maintain healthy relationships. So, generally, this fear stems from a variety of problems. It can stem from experiences in the childhood, like in the infancy, if the caregivers are away for longer periods of time. So, for example, if a significant parent or a primary parent is in the military, who is inconsistently available to the child, or if a caregiver is mostly out of reach from the child,
Hmm.
and or for example some criminals who are in jail, and if a child is born in such a scenario, he or she might develop this fear. Similarly, if there are caregivers who are unpredictably available emotionally and physically, if there is a significant trauma, emotional, sexual, any kind of trauma, can rupture this primary relationship with the caregiver.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, if there is an introduction of a new caregiver, like an introduction of a stepmother or a stepfather or a totally new family, this and if the primary caregiver is not a very emotionally available person to the child, then this fear can develop.
Okay. Okay, great. So you mean something for, say, a lot of parents living in cities or anywhere around India or around the world. Uh, yeah. So I would be specific to India, that people, some old people or your parents would be scared that my son or they would leave me, and then I will be have to be living by myself in my old age, like that, right? That's the whole. Can be example,
This
right?
can also happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if a family is very used to of living with each other, like it's a very close knit family,
Mhm.
and or anybody for that matter, doesn't really be specific. It might not be very specific to any parent, but anybody who feels that what if I'm all alone. So what I'm trying to explain is that this fear generally generates in the very early childhood, the primitive years of our life.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
might be possible that this fear has not been exclusively visible till the time a particular stressor comes in,
Okay.
you know. So it can happen that when a adult is left all alone on himself and he has nobody to take care of,
Mhm.
it can be possible that this fear develops at that time. But if we look at it in therapy, we generally find out that they might have gone through some trauma in the childhood or some inconsistent parenting or emotionally unavailable parents.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Mm. So, what are type of fears of abandonment? Like, what kind of types are there?
Signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So generally, we could see that while adult, while he or she is forming relationships, they attach very quickly even to unavailable partners or relationships. Very quickly, they'll attach to anybody who's available emotionally to them, or they will fail to fully commit or have had very few long-term relationships. You must have observed people saying that I have commitment phobia. You know, so generally, people with abandonment fears fail to fully commit in a relationship. Need not be just romantic relationships, but it could also be not able to take significant responsibilities at home, or whenever there is a responsibility, they would try to just avoid it. You know,
Mhm.
uh, third could be they move on quickly just to ensure that they don't get attached.
Mhm.
Like whenever they sense that they are getting attached to a partner or getting attached to any significant friend, they might just want to get out from that relationship. There are a lot of people who would aim to please themselves, please others, or engage in unwanted sex. We have observed that a lot in therapy sessions. That adults who have this abandonment fear, they engage in unwanted sex and engage in casual sex, or they stay in a relationship no matter how unhealthy or toxic that is.
Mm.
There are also times that adults struggle with being hard to please. That I'm not able to please the other person,
Okay.
or they will have difficulty experiencing emotional intimacy. So wherever this, wherever in a relationship they feel that they need to engage beyond a point where they can get attached, they might just want to run away from that feeling all together. They might feel insecure and unworthy of love. They might have this feeling that I don't deserve to be loved. That is the reason they run away
Mhm.
from being attached. Or it mostly leads down to engaging in self blame. They start blaming themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So, what the whole idea of creating this podcast was to address people's, not everybody is able to, uh, no. So the thing is, not everybody is comfortable to speak about their mental health issues and problems. Everybody's not, uh, everybody doesn't have social media or say internet to
Yeah.
help themselves address their problems. Or a lot
Hmm.
of people can't even afford to pay that much money for a session. Of course, there are a lot of sessions which are very cheap, but there are not everybody can even afford for them. So the whole idea of creating
Yeah.
this was that people could see this and watch this, and maybe we could help in a very very small or any kind of way possible. So my question to you now, we what could be solutions we as a friend of someone, or we can help ourselves through addressing it, or through what are the solutions for this?
Yeah. So if your fear is mild or well controlled, you may be able to handle it on your own. But generally, abandonment fear is quite deep rooted. It comes from a place of childhood, and it's mostly difficult to handle on your own. Okay, but if it's something mild and it's controllable, you may be able to handle it by number one, becoming aware of your fear. Where is it stemming from? The more you're educated about your tendencies and where is this coming from, maybe if you are aware that it's coming from this significant relationship in your past, that okay, maybe your mother or your father was not available in the recent past, and you know that you've been suffering from feeling lonely or feeling alone, you know and you know that the more you get aware that this feeling is coming from, you can try and handle it. So the first thing is, don't just try to treat the fear. Try to build a feeling of belongingness
Mhm.
by not just focusing all your energy and devotion on a single partner, but by building a community. So for example, you're trying to just focus on ex partner. It could be a romantic relationship, and you are just feeling this fear. This fear is attached to this partner. What if this person leaves me? Try not to just focus on building that attachment with him or her, but you know generalize this understanding that you can still have a community. You can still build a relationship with others. You can have friends. You can have like-minded people, like close friends. Yeah. So that's one thing that you can do on your own. The second thing, what you can do is, generally, most people with the fear of abandonment state that they never felt that they had a tribe. They never felt that they had their own people. So most people with fear of abandonment state that they never had like-minded people along with them. Because they always felt disconnected uh, from those around them. But it's never too late to surround yourself with like-minded people. So, for example, engage in hobbies and have passions and dreams, or with people who share the same hobbies, share similar passions, share similar dreams. You know, so when I talk about building a community, is maybe trying to engage yourself with similar kind of people, like-minded people. That's what I mean.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Another thing what you can do is, easier said than done, but working on your own passions and connecting with oneself. That's not very easy. When you have severe fear of abandonment, but if you think you are able to control it, trying to engage more with your own self,
Okay.
which will and the belief that you are strong enough to cope up with whatever life throws at you, basically. Okay. It is also important to address that um, most people's fear of abandonment is deep rooted. Like I initially said, that if it's not something that you can handle on your own, it is very, very important to seek help from a professional, maybe a mental health professional for that matter, a clinical psychologist, because again, fear of abandonment alone is not a problem. But for example, if somebody is going through depression, might face this fear very significantly. Yeah. So it has also been observed over my practice that uh, the therapeutic relationship which we form with the client can act as a very safe and a secured environment for the client. You know, the more secure he or she feels with the therapist can lesser this anxiety, and that may model as a healthy and a secure relationship for the person. It is also important to understand that whatever past experiences you've had, and this can only happen through therapy, you might have had a traumatic incident in the past, and you might fear that you might never be able to create a secure relationship with a coming up partner. You need not linger it down to think that you can never have a secure partner. And
Mhm.
this can only happen from a therapeutic relationship.
Okay.
If a lot of times uh, the client feels totally insecure with his or her own caregivers or his or her own um, uh, family members, but when they tend to have a secured relationship with their therapist, it has been observed that they are able to form secured relationship ahead. Also, another thing which is very, very important is to identify that uh, caring for yourself is something which we keep reiterating.
Mhm.
Yeah, caring for yourself also means that you involve yourself finding a therapist who can reinforce thoughts, who can understand, acknowledge, and validate these feelings and provide you with a more secured environment.
Okay. Okay. So, Navya, just love one more question. That what would be your message or any kind of thing you'd like to leave here before we end the session up?
Yeah. So I think what I observed as a clinician over the last year or so is that this fear has been seen very prominently in the pandemic. Um, Even if there are people who are living with their families, maybe this fear has exacerbated because of continuous trauma in their life, you know, because they're living with their significant partner or significant caregiver who was causing them these feelings. So I really want to urge that if you're suffering, it's never too late to talk to a therapist and maybe
Yeah.
meet a therapist in person, online. We are all available to help you.
Yep, totally, totally, Navya. Thank you very much again for being here. It was a wonderful session. Really great to speak about a new topic on this. Hoping that we connect very soon again,
Yeah.
talking about something else. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much again.